second day of testimony in the preliminary hearing to determine whether or not there is enough evidence to put singer David, real name, legal name, David Anthony Burke, on trial for the horrific alleged murder, dismemberment, and sexual abuse of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez. Because today, prosecutors continued to focus on David's finances and lucrative career, even seemingly on who may have known about Burke's alleged relationship with Celeste, including one of his money managers who admitted to at least hearing of Celeste's first name, the fact that she may have traveled with Burke to London. Now, remember, this is all important because prosecutors are not only trying to prove that Burke had an illegal sexual relationship with Celeste, a minor, but that he also had a financial motive to kill her in order to prevent her from revealing it. This is a special circumstance allegation that can carry the potential of the death penalty. I mean, you had testimony that revealed Burke earned a whopping $10 million between 2023 and 2025. So it gives you an idea of what he could have lost. And the court also heard testimony about the condition of the Tesla where Celeste's body was reportedly found. You had one criminalist describing the odor from the vehicle and noting that 11 air fresheners had been placed inside. Suspicious? This was alongside testimony from another criminalist about evidence of blood that was apparently found at Burke's home. Now, look, Burke is innocent unless proven guilty. He has pleaded not guilty to the charges of first-degree murder, continuous sexual abuse of a child, unlawful mutilation of human remains. There is a lot to get into tonight. I have a great panel. Joining me now live from Los Angeles, senior national correspondent Brian Entin, who's been at the courthouse, and famed criminal trial attorney Mark Geragos, host of the podcast Two Angry Men, Reasonable Doubt. Brian, I'm going to start with you. What was the biggest takeaway for you from today's testimony?
I mean, look, it was another tough day just in terms of how gruesome and horrific the details are. You mentioned the deodorizers inside, the air fresheners inside the Tesla. There were 11 of them. The stench was so bad from the decomposing body, Jesse, and there were maggots and there were insects. And one of those air fresheners, you couldn't even see it because it was literally, we saw the pictures, it was literally covered in maggots. So, and you think that, you know, Celeste's parents are sitting right there. The details were awful. They talked about the chemical test for the blood. There was the potential of blood pretty much being everywhere. The kiddie pool that we've heard so much about that the prosecution alleges is where Celeste's body was dismembered. There was a gasp in the courtroom, Jesse. It's the first time that's happened. Literally, people in the courtroom gasped when they showed the photo of how the entire kiddie pool lit up when they put the light over it to show just how much blood there was, Jesse.
Yeah, and they're basically trying to say this is David's Tesla. This was his property, right? They're trying to show evidence of him driving the car. How on earth could he not have known what had happened and what was going on there? But Mark, I want to go to you, the law. Look, to me, the question is not so much does the prosecution have enough evidence to move this to trial, which is the purpose of this preliminary hearing. It's a low standard. It's a low bar for the prosecution. You just have to show probable cause. Seems to me likely the court will find that. You may disagree. But to me, we are seeing the evidence and the building blocks of the case should this go to trial. We're seeing how strong the prosecution may think their case is to possibly negotiate a deal with David should this move forward with the death penalty. Look at what we have. So in your opinion, how has the prosecution done so far at ultimately trying to prove the charges and the special circumstances?
Well, I think right now, and I know this may not be a popular opinion, but what the prosecution has proved is that apparently after she died, she was dismembered and she was allowed to decompose in the car, which is gruesome. I agree with Brian, and disgusting. And, the deodorizers are graphic and all of that. And the kiddie pool where the dismemberment took place is all very graphic. The problem is the prosecution still has not, at this point, after 2 days of a preliminary hearing, talked about how they are going to forensically show how she was killed. And I suppose we've got 2 more days to prove that. But so far, that isn't what we've seen.
Mark, I hear you. I hear you on that. Makes me wonder, is the defense trying to build the argument, and Brian, I'll go to you in a second, but do you think that the defense is trying to build the argument, Mark, he purchased all these things, the chainsaws, the laundry bags, the body bag, after she died, so not before. You can't say that he planned it, right? Maybe it was a heat of the moment killing. Maybe it was self-defense. Do we really know what happened in the house? Are they also trying to say the chainsaws, there was negative testing for blood, although I believe one of the chainsaws might have been missing. Is that the kind of argument that you see them forming? That maybe we have to say he was part of the cover-up, he was part of the dismemberment, but in terms of this actually being murder, maybe not?
I think you've hit on it precisely. Take a look at the statement that I think was carefully crafted by the defense. I think that shows, and as you pointed out, not only the chainsaws had nothing on them, but in addition to that, the box that was found was unopened. And there has been precious little information or evidence so far that would show exactly how this was done or when it was done. We know precisely what happened afterwards. What we don't have is what happened before, and that is one of the kind of prosecutorial hurdles they have to get over, even for a low bar of a probable cause preliminary hearing.
Now, Brian, you tell me if there was any evidence that you heard about the actual killing yet. I know we might hear text messages, we might hear about the Uber, we might hear about how he allegedly lured her to the property. But so tell me about that. But also, there was something else that happened today that I wanted your opinion about. There was this heated moment, right, where the prosecutor pushed Burke's money manager, business associate, on what he knew about this relationship between David and Celeste, right? What happened there?
Yeah, and the money manager testimony has been very interesting because, first of all, there was a lot of money moving around and a lot of money at stake. He had just signed a $19 million deal. So there was a lot of money at stake. The money manager still works for the family right now and is getting paid and is still somewhat in charge of the money, but denied knowing much about Celeste, despite the fact that David allegedly bought the plane ticket to London, bought the plane ticket to Texas, and claimed that the money manager claimed that he mostly dealt with David's mom, that David wasn't so much involved in the money himself. But you could tell the prosecution was trying to make the point that there was money at stake here, and if it came out that David was in this kind of a relationship with someone underage, everything could go away for him.
Yeah, Mark, what's your opinion about that? In the sense, is it trying to say, yeah, no one else knew that he was taking her to London, he did it by himself, he kept this secret, but at the same time, is that true, or are you seeing the kind of the rumblings of maybe there were other people that knew something and didn't act up? Maybe there are other people that helped in some way. Remember, he's also charged with a sex crime here. Where do you see this going in terms of what other people in his orbit knew or didn't know?
I hate to be the cynic here, but this to me is kind of a pretextual prosecutorial gambit or gamesmanship. What they're trying to do is prove a special circumstance. Yeah. Well, the special circumstance is the financial motive. The reason that I personally think that Beth is kind of going after the money manager,
Beth Silverman, the prosecutor,
Beth Silverman, is because he won't give her what she wants. And the reason she wants special circumstance, with his resources, if there's no special circumstance, he's out on bail. If he's out on bail, it's harder to convict him. Part of this gamesmanship that's going on is you keep him in on a special circumstance. That means he can't get out on bail. That makes it tougher on him to defend the case. And that's unfortunately one of the things, or one of the gambits that prosecutors get into. This is not by any stretch of the imagination a financial crime or done for finances. I reject that. I think that's nonsense.
Well, I hear where they're going with it, because look, Brian, you tell me what we can expect next from this preliminary hearing. Are we going to hear the text messages between Celeste and David, potentially leading up to when she allegedly went to his place? Because if that's the key, and she says, I'm going to tell everybody about you and what we've been up to, and then he allegedly kills her the next day, I'd imagine that's going to be key. So you tell me what we're looking out for in the next few days of this preliminary hearing.
Yeah, we're looking out for the text messages. What I think may be even more important, though, is going to be the medical examiner. And it seems he is going to be testifying, and that may happen tomorrow, because think about all the questions that Mark was asking about. and how she died, and even how they were able to determine it when there was, I mean, we saw the pictures. There was, you couldn't tell it was a person. And I think that his testimony is going to be important, and I'm interested to see the way the defense questions him, and I think that may happen tomorrow.
Yeah, look, remember what the defense said at the very beginning, right? At the very beginning of his arrest, they said, our client didn't commit this murder. Our client is not the cause of Celeste's death. However, if they match up the timing, they said that her phone, she never made any contact anymore after allegedly going to his house. You can see how the prosecution makes this argument. Mark, we'll have to have this conversation another day. You're always welcome back. I could talk about this with you for 30 minutes. So keep that invite. Brian, you too. We're going to have this conversation another time, okay?
You got it. Thanks,
Okay.
Jesse.
Sounds good.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.